It was very difficult to find the right words to break the news to Robert that his mother had just died in hospital. I explained that as his father was dead also, she had asked me to look after him. Although he agreed to come with me, I don't think he fully understood what I'd told him. I took him to Fairfield, the Harrogate branch of the National Children's Home. From the hospital I had phoned the superintendent, and as there were no relatives to help, it had been agreed to take Robert immediately. At Harrogate I knew Robert would eventually become a happy, carefree boy again. I was carrying out his mother's trust.
The superintendent had told me that Robert was coming, so we were ready to welcome him. It was getting late by this time, and some of the younger ones were already in bed, so I decided that that was the best place for Robert too. He'd been unable to bring anything with him, but we found him some pajamas. Robert's story wasn't so very different from that of many of the other children in my care. But I wished that I could explain that, terrible as things seemed at this moment, time would heal, and one day he would be happy again.
During her 34 years in this very house, Sister Edith must have seen many new arrivals like Robert. I've seen quite a few myself since I was at Highbury. Highbury. It seems only the other day that I was here at the Sisters' Training College. During the 12 months course, student sisters study a wide range of subjects relating to their chosen career. A consultant child psychologist comes once a week to talk to us about the opportunities and problems of child care. In the dressmaking class, we learn not only how to repair old clothes, but also how to make new ones. Our instructor is a qualified dressmaker. First aid is another useful and necessary subject. In the Lytton Library, built in memory of the Reverend John Lytton, a former principal of the National Children's Home, we can continue our studies on our own. Dr. Thomas Bowman Stevenson, with the sublime faith and courage of the true pioneer, founded the National Children's Home 90 years ago. His work has never dated, for he was far ahead of his time. He knew that boys and girls should be brought up together, so he created real homes. This one at Bonner Road, Bethnal Green, opened in 1871, was one of the earliest. Dr. Stevenson knew also that such homes could not be successful without the right type of house mother, so he carefully selected his staff and trained them for their great task. Through Dr. Stevenson, 40,000 children have been given new opportunities, and today 40 branches carry on the ever-increasing work that he started. Country dancing is a subject which we find as much a recreation as a serious study. We each have a study bedroom to which we can invite each other for a chat at the end of the day's work. Towards the end of the course, we have an open day, at which our friends and relations can see some of the results of our activities. Finally, after a period of probation, we are ordained into the Sisterhood Order of the National Children's Home. The service is conducted by the principal, the Reverend John Waterhouse. We each receive a copy of the Holy Bible and are enjoined to find therein not only constant comfort for our souls, but also never-failing guidance in the work of caring for children in need, to which we are dedicated. My training over, I was appointed to Harrogate to work with Sister Edith and learn to look after a family of my own. The next morning, I began to learn a lot from our new arrival. Quite understandably, he didn't want to get up. In the usual way, one of the other boys, Brian, had been asked to become Robert's special friend and make a special effort to help him settle down. It's always a bit of an ordeal for a new arrival to meet the rest of the family. I tried to persuade him to come and have some breakfast. but he just didn't want to have anything to do with anybody. Meanwhile, the others were setting off for school. All the children from the home go to schools in the town to help ensure that they do not grow up feeling different from other people. One day soon, Robert would be going with them. After they had gone, Robert relaxed a little. And then his empty tummy demanded attention. In the weeks that followed, he began very slowly and with some difficulty to adjust himself to his new life. At first, he wouldn't join in anything, although Brian tried to persuade him. Woodwork, I discovered, was a thing that interested Robert, so I took him to the evening class run by one of the staff. Brian and some of the others belong to the local Life Boys. The children are encouraged to join such organizations outside the home for the same reason that they go to outside schools. Robert had been a Life Boy once, so Brian said, "Come and join my group." Oh well, perhaps he'll come next time. One thing Robert would do quite willingly sometimes was to help with jobs around the house. He wasn't really a naughty boy. He probably remembered how he used to help his mother. He was desperately in need of a mother's affection, but as yet he could not see either myself or Sister Edith in that light. Gradually, with the particular help of Brian, he began to settle down. One Saturday afternoon, about 2 months after Robert's arrival, we set off for one of our family picnics. This time we decided to go to a spot not far away called Burke Crag. Robert had really settled down now and become a member of the family. I wasn't leaving for good, but just with the superintendent and 2 other sisters for a brief visit to London. To go to the Central Hall, Westminster, for our annual reunion. Staff, friends and old boys and girls meet here as members of one big family. The principal makes a short speech of welcome and then tells us to go and find our friends. The names of all the branches are placed round the hall so that the people from any one home can meet each other without undue difficulty. The superintendent from Harrogate has found some of his old boys and girls. There's the Reverend Gordon Barrett, who is in charge of the aftercare work of the home. This annual gathering fosters a spirit of good fellowship and promotes a lively exchange of ideas and experiences. At the reunion, I met the friends I'd made at the training college at Highbury. We talked of old times for a while. And then, Sister Helena told us about her work at Chipping Norton. Chipping Norton near Oxford is a special branch for 50 disabled children, and I look after a family of 8 girls. Getting up in the morning is quite a task for such children. Many need help to get dressed, but others can manage on their own. The more able ones willingly help their less fortunate sisters. This little girl is a spastic and she cannot control her movements. After breakfast, the children go across the playground to the school. For convenience, since it would not be easy to send the children elsewhere, Chipping Norton has its own school and a specialist teaching staff. Spastic children receive speech training from a visiting speech therapist.
Now, can we have Jack and Jill, Leslie? Come on. Jack and Jill. Went to fetch the pail. If Jack fell down and broke his and Jill came tucked after. Very good.
Most of the children attend the physiotherapy department once a day. Wheelchairs and sometimes even leg irons are now left behind. Not all the exercises the children do are designed to help them physically. This one, for instance, is invaluable mainly for the satisfying sense of achievement it gives the boy when he's mastered it. Here's another example of the same sort of thing. But of course, many of the exercises are strictly remedial. Paralyzed legs like these and these can often be restored to partial or even full use by such exercises. These legs usually wear calipers, but on this static bicycle given by the American Air Force, the little girl can manage without them. This exercise strengthens her legs and gives her some fun, too. Many handicapped children become useful and happy citizens as a result of the patient training they receive at Chipping Norton. Back at the reunion, when Sister Helena had finished, Sister Florence told us about the work of her branch.
Bramhope, near Leeds, where I work, is a special home for backward or educationally subnormal children. These children are not physically handicapped, and they are able to enjoy themselves in the usual ways. Bramhope also has its own school, where as far as possible each child receives individual tuition. In this class, each boy and girl is learning separately to read or count, using a method suited to his or her ability. Many of the methods are similar to those used in ordinary schools for much younger children. A useful aid for improving reading and spelling is this simple crossword puzzle. With the sympathetic help of an experienced teacher, he'll soon get it right. Since this boy, and many of the others, would not be able to understand written clues, they are given in the form of pictures. From the puzzle, he has learned several new words. Children love playing with water, and by letting them do so like this, they slowly grasp the idea of liquid measure. Here's another useful aid to reading and spelling. Only some pictures are duplicated on the wall. The rest have to be matched by using phonetics or by elimination. Working on apparatus like this, apart from advancing physical development, provides an outlet for the fund of aggressive energy so often found in backward children, and helps them to build up the self-confidence they need so much. Self-expression is vital to backward children, and this work is as important as learning to read. Only the subject, in this case summer holidays, is suggested. The rest is left to individual interpretation. The use of bold, uninhibited strokes is encouraged because it helps them face life in the same way instead of becoming shy and withdrawn as they otherwise might. I look after a family of 8 children, and my main task is to make them feel happy, secure, and wanted. In the evening, I keep them all occupied, for children are happiest when they are busy. Because they are backward, they find it difficult to cooperate with each other, and they are inclined to play on their own. Most of these children have relatives, and I help each member of my family to write a letter once a week. aim at Bramhope is to help these children, by means of carefully graded instruction and a secure environment, to become competent and responsible citizens.
At these reunions, you meet people from all branches of the work of the National Children's Home. On this occasion, we talked to Sister Margaret, who runs the Family Aid Scheme.
The basic purpose of this scheme is to keep families together in their own homes in cases where, for some reason, such as chronic illness or desertion, there is only one parent. Since it is difficult for one parent single-handed to support and look after the family, we provide material help of many kinds, including clothes, food, and where really necessary, a small financial grant. As a result of frequent visits, I virtually become a member of the family, sharing all its joys and troubles. In this way, I get to know their problems and can give advice on such things as health and schooling. Very often, I'm called upon to give moral support and encouragement to the overburdened parent. And of course, one of the best ways of encouraging people is to give them really practical help. Altogether, there are about 50 such families that, with the indispensable cooperation of local churches, we try to help in this way. In so doing, we prevent any severing of family ties and ensure that the children have a secure upbringing. A few weeks after Sister Mary's return to Harrogate from the reunion, it was my turn to set off for London with the superintendent. This church in Highgate was our destination. We'd been invited to attend the wedding of one of my old girls. One of the most gratifying aspects of our work is the way old boys and girls keep in touch after they've gone out into the world. They seem to look back on the branch they were brought up in as home. Back at Harrogate, it was time to pack for our summer holiday. As usual, I had some difficulty in persuading the little ones that there wasn't room for all their toys. All the children in our homes go away for a holiday at least once a year. Some go to relatives or friends, but many go to another branch for 2 or 3 weeks. The branch at Whitby was our choice this year. To the delight of the children, this branch is quite near the sea. The rest of the year slipped by quickly, and soon it was Christmas time. Christmas morning was full of the usual excitement. After breakfast, it was time for the giving and receiving of presents. made it herself at school. This is what the little girl was knitting at the picnic. It's an egg cosy. Then we went to Christmas morning service, held in our own chapel. The climax, of course, was Christmas dinner. Christmas is over, and now begins a new year and a new term, and for Robert, a new life. But he is only one of over 600 children who are entrusted to the care of our society every year. We pray that the National Children's Home will always be able to meet the needs of its ever-growing family.
Let me, as father to this family, tell you one thing more. The work of the Children's Home depends on voluntary giving and personal service. We need people who will give more than money, people like Sister Edith and Sister Mary and all the others you've just met, who will give themselves. Here I have Dr. Stevenson's own copy of a book called Praying and Working. When he read this book, he knew he had to give his life working for homeless children. Will you follow in his steps? Your prayers and your work could do much to bring happiness to children who need your help.